I'm Rocky Asuka Romero. As you probably know, you watch me on New Japan Pro Wrestling and, Ring of Honor. But you really should support WrestleTalk, and you should follow them and subscribe right now. Do something cool with the buttons, and see you guys.
Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Hello and welcome to this breaking news episode of the WrestleTalk News. I am Luca and this is El Fakador Laurie Blake, and we're here to talk about the situation in New Japan Pro Wrestling where Jon Moxley has been forced to vacate the United States Championship, the IWGP United States Championship.
Because it got rained off him.
It got rained off him, essentially. Yeah,
Yeah.
Typhoons caused him to drop the belt because he couldn't make it to the show that's actually currently happening now as we're recording this. New Japan announced it on their website that he wasn't going to be able to make the show due to travel issues, and as a result, the match instead became Juice Robinson versus Lance Archer for the title, which was won by Lance Archer.
And they made that a no DQ match as well, which was the original stipulation for the Jon Moxley Juice match.
Yes.
So they carried on the stipulation. It was a fun match.
It was a decent little match. Yeah,
And
I
you
thought
know
it was
what?
really good by the end.
A good choice as well. Like, that's the right surprise choice to go for, is like, we've had to insert someone else into the match. You think it's going to be Juice because obviously you do. Then you do the big old switcheroo.
Exactly, yeah. And so it seems to be that this was probably likely going to be Juice regaining the title had Moxley been able to make it over.
Yeah.
Because, well, as housemate Simon pointed out in the office, was like, well, Typhoon's not going to last forever. You could just book Moxley for another show.
Yeah.
My thinking on this is this was probably Moxley's last date.
Yeah.
With New Japan. I know he's talked about doing Wrestle Kingdom, and he wants to do Wrestle Kingdom, but if he was... The title was stripped of him, which apparently is a New Japan rule. If you can't make the show, you automatically have to lose the title. Maybe that's just sort of a bit of like kayfabe work. But this sort of suggests to me that he's not going to be doing Wrestle Kingdom, and now he is exclusively going to be doing AEW moving forward.
Yeah, because they must be starting house shows soon. Like they're obviously wanting to limit the number of shows they're doing, so people go to the tapings, so the tapings look full, and you get that good first run of tapings. But yeah, I guess that's the thing, is like, sending him out there now, even if there are more dates that he can do, it's such a risk to send him this week when there's the typhoon, because he might not be able to come back in time for the TV. He might not be able to come back in time for the TV. So like,
there's also that as well, and it's not just Moxley, because when it was announced that Moxley's not on the card, can't make it due to travel issues, instantly it was an AEW thing. A lot of people speculated. AEW didn't want him jobbing out in New Japan, and so they just told him not to go, or they said he can't make it, travel issues, etc., etc., etc. But then it was announced that also Zack Sabre Jr. couldn't make it to the show for the exact same reasons, which suggests to me, at the very least, this is definitely travel issues. This isn't just Moxley didn't want to drop the title and decided to vacate.
There's a bloody hurricane there. It's like...
but
AEW didn't want him flying into the eye of a storm.
This is from the Figure 4 online website. It says the typhoon has caused a number of pro wrestling events to be delayed. Stardom and Ice Ribbon both cancelled shows that were due to take place this weekend. NJPW released a statement this weekend confirming that King of Pro Wrestling is taking place as scheduled on Monday morning. Typhoon Hagibis is considered to be one of the biggest typhoons to hit the Kanto region of Japan since 1958. It has caused 37 deaths thus far.
Yep, it's also rained off a bunch of the rugby matches for the World Cup, and they've had to. Weirdly, they've decided that they were a draw rather than reschedule the match. They've just gone, that's a draw. So that's pissed off a lot of people. But
None of you could make it.
Yeah. So again, at least a match happened, I guess.
That's exactly it. Yeah, Meltzer was saying on Twitter as well that it's not an AEW thing. It is just a travel issue thing. So it kind of raises the question about a relationship between AEW and New Japan, whether you could now have Juice or Lance Archer show up in AEW, or Moxley go back over for a Wrestle Kingdom match next year against Archer. So we don't know where the situation is with Moxley and New Japan and AEW's relationship with New Japan.
If I was AEW, I would not have those guys turn up in AEW.
Yeah.
I think it confuses the storyline.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get into that situation where you've got belts from all over the place being defended. Because as big as they kind of are for wrestling fans, I think in terms of a mainstream television product, it's quite confusing to go, this is a belt from a Japanese company, and we have to explain where it comes from and why it's being fought for. Whereas you could just have your own US title.
Yeah.
You could have your own that tier of title.
And the only reason I bring it up is because Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful was posting earlier on Twitter that there are so many moving parts, I don't know what or how. But New Japan works at CMLL and Ring of Honor. New Japan doesn't have any more dates with Ring of Honor for now. CMLL doesn't like Ring of Honor. AEW are working with AAA. Impact are working with AAA, who owns New Japan's channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of moving parts there.
Yeah.
But it is a case that New Japan haven't got any dates with Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
That there could be a door open for, and Kenny's got the connection there along with the Bucks as well, and Cody. So perhaps there could be a working relationship there. I don't know. I'm just sort of spitballing ideas. But I mean, to your point, if you don't think it's the best idea in the world.
Yeah, I don't think it's a very good narrative idea. I think it's a great idea for those guys to go over to Japan and compete and spread the word of AEW as a brand, like an ambassadorship kind of thing. Like, because Omega said he wanted to continue doing NJPW stuff. Jericho most likely wants to. Moxley has said explicitly that he wants to do Wrestle Kingdom as well. So I think it's just good value for them to put those faces out in Japan and be like, well, we can kind of double up here in terms of. You see them do a good match in Japan, people might be more likely to tune into the TV product or buy the pay-per-views.
And perhaps maybe not doing the titles as such, but I can certainly see the appeal of doing marquee matches for pay-per-views.
Yes.
So you bring in Hiroki Goto for a match in AEW, just as a one-off thing. It's like he's not here for a long time, he's just coming in for this one show, and he's going to be facing against... I don't know, Sean Spears, like just throwing a name out there, and you do that match as like a spectacle match. TNA used to do this a lot, sort of back in the early days of their pay-per-view runs. It's where they got Jushin Thunder Liger over, and they got people like Austin Aries and Roderick Strong and Joe in to be like, hey, here is just a marquee thing, and then those guys eventually just stuck around. Apart from Liger, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think that's the best of getting a working relationship with New Japan is to be like, well, we can feature some of your talent. If AEW can build up to All In or All Out 2 or whatever it's going to be, whatever next year's Chicago show is going to be, and they get Okada, then you're like, whoa, hello, I just
get the big Zoom ready.
Exactly, yeah. Quick, practice.
So that is essentially the state of it. There's no update on whether Moxley is done with New Japan. All we do know is that he has been forced to vacate the title due to Typhoon, and Lance Archer is your new United States champion. But that wasn't the only bit of news to come out of this match, because also right at the end, after Archer, so he gave Dukes the crucifix bomb onto a big pile of chairs, and then give him the big sort of claw choke
the
thing.
weird brains. I don't understand this move.
Such an old
the
school,
EVD claw.
It's the Von Erich style, sort of claw and stuff. Yeah. I'm squeezing your brain.
I'm squeezing your
hard.
temples.
Yeah, and so
I feel like it might just help you with the headache.
Well, it appeared to be that he dislocated his finger partway through the match.
Juice did, yeah. That looked really painful.
Oof, didn't it?
It was just rolling around for a while, going
That's one of my favourite moments of wrestling in 2019, which is when he didn't get a pinfall and just at the top of his loud screamed the F word. So
it was so good.
But anyway, at the end of the match, Archer's beating down Robinson even more. And who should make his return but David Finlay is back in New Japan. He's been on the injured shelf for quite some time now. So that seems to set up an Archer-Finlay program down the line.
Well, and then that kind of says, well, where does Moxley factor back into that? Like if this is the program we're going to go with now, it seems like they've done it's almost like a complete shift from where they were going.
Yeah.
Because they were going in it's probably Juice or Moxley retains and we build up to Wrestle Kingdom and he drops the title, whichever it is. And this is now just a completely different feud over the belt. So if they are going to reinsert Moxley, where does he fit now?
Where does he fit into that? Yeah, because Juice was so fixated on Moxley as well. That was the story they were telling of the match was that Juice had been focusing all of his attention on Moxley, and I think it was Chris Charlton was saying.
Well, that's why he buggered it up, isn't it?
Well, exactly. Yeah, and Chris Charlton was saying at the start of the matches that he'd interviewed Juice earlier in the week, who'd said that. I don't know what's more important, the title or beating Moxley. So he was really, really the story is he was so focused on this over here that he lost sight of it. It's kind of what they did with Pac and Omega at All Out. Omega was so focused on beating Moxley. It's always Moxley that Pac scored the victory.
He's a captivating presence, isn't he? That's it.
But anyway, so that is the breaking news story here from WrestleTalk. Please click the videos that have just appeared on the desk, including our look at what New Japan could learn from NXT. Or sorry, what NXT could learn from New Japan. I got that the wrong way around for a second there. But check it out. It's really, really good. Our buddy Brian Joyce made that video for us. But that's all we've got time for. I've been Luke Owen. This has been El Fakador, Laurie Blake. And that was wrestling.